First child versus your second child. So I got my baby in the background here. He's asleep. Hopefully, he stays asleep during the duration of this episode. But I wanted to. I was thinking about this the other day, and I wanted to share my experience having my first newborn baby at the age of 25, 26, and the second one around 32 going into 33, and what were the key differences between the two, and if you guys have had more than a kid, um, you can share your insights on how you felt on the first one versus the second one, or if you haven't had any kids, maybe we'll just give you some insight into your first and second child. So I think it's important to talk about the circumstances as well. Uh, for my first baby, my daughter, she's almost 8 now. Circumstances were very different. I was young. I was just finishing my undergrad. In fact, I had just finished um, my last semester, a month before she was born, um, and it was an unplanned pregnancy. So it happened while I was still in university. I didn't have any plans of getting married, but because of the circumstance, ended up decided to get married because that was what was in that time period the best possible way forward. I wanted my kid to have a family somewhat resembling uh, convention at the time, um, and so yeah, so that was the circumstance that set up. So I graduated, got married, started work, and then my baby was born. I was about 25 and a half, going to 26, and very surreal experience. We had a home birth, and you get a rush of emotion as soon as you see them come into the world. Um, a lot of unknowingness with your first one, especially for me back then, and also because I was so young and because it was unplanned. Didn't know. Um, just a lot of because it was a novel experience. Just like a lot of it is just like, my God, this is a new baby. You gotta take care of it, and then you're just so wrapped up in the whole experience. Um, it's it's very special. The first one is always very special. Not that the second one is not special, but um, yeah, those are the circumstances and the feelings when I had my first one. I also wanted to spend more deliberate time with my first baby because of how I grew up. My dad was always away working, and so I wanted to give my child the baby some time at home and not always be away. And funny enough, what ended up happening was that my work at the time, I used to commute about 3 hours every day. And so I would leave really early and come back kind of late. So I would leave when my daughter was still sleeping and come back when it was time for bed. And so that was sort of one of the triggers that led to me quitting my job. I did a video on that. Um, do make sure to check it out. Um, So that was all for the firstborn. Wanted to do everything they need and wanting to do everything perfectly, just right. Um, and coming up about 7, 8 years later, I realized I wasn't as involved in the first bit as I am now. Well, because I guess I was commuting for long hours and working a full-time job. Now I'm more flexible, so able to be home more and do a lot more diaper changes and nighttime wakings. We were also breastfeeding at the time, so this time it's bottle fed. So now formula, so I can actually get up and do the feeds. So those are the key differences. So this one, I got married again. I'm gonna do an episode on my separation and divorce and how that happened, and what were the key aspects for me to uh, make sure to make it a wholesome experience. Well, it's not a wholesome experience, but make it as decent as possible for my daughter and obviously for my ex-wife now. So anyway, back to the second baby. He is a boy. First one was a girl, and very different because this marriage was not a marriage of circumstance, more intentional. The first one was more out of circumstance. And then so we did plan on having this baby. There was a lot of discussion and talk, how, when, where, and what if it's a boy, what if it's a girl. So a lot more planning went into the second one. And when he was born, again, a surge of emotions came up, and it's uh, it's not a novel experience anymore. It's still surreal because this human is just now in your hands and it's tiny. And because you've went through it before, I found that I was less scared. I don't know if scared is the right word. I was less anxious or less nervous. Um, I didn't have the same concerns about um, how I wanted the baby to be raised or what I want the baby to experience in terms of like I wouldn't quit my job for this baby. Not that I don't love him just as much, but I think I got it out of my system, lived through it, had the experience, know what it felt like, learned the pros and the cons, and now um, I'm better for it, I guess. So I guess good to have all those things out of your system the first time. So second one, you can take a bit more liberty. The only other thing is that there was a huge gap between the first and the second one, 7 years. So usually keep people like to have 2 or 3 years between kids. So again, long gap. So it's almost felt like a reset button because now my kids, I have two kids, a daughter and a stepdaughter, are 7 and 9. Um, and so you're almost like because they're now becoming more independent, they play with each other, and now it's like hitting the reset button again after so many years. So um, doesn't feel quite like starting over, but it's a fresh new perspective in life. um, Definitely not as uh, I don't know if careful is the right word, but like, when handling the baby, I used to be so scared. I used to sit in awkward positions all the time, but now like I gotta be comfortable first and then make sure the baby is comfortable too. So um, a bit more experience under my belt, and I want to make it, um, I don't know, best for both me and baby. So anyway, those were the key differences between the first and second one. Let me know how your experiences were. If you don't have any kids yet and planning to, hope you got some good takeaways from this. If you need me to talk about this in more detail or talk about the first one or second one in more detail, let me know and we can do that. See you in the next one.